and I would like to thank you for joining this webinar today. Today, inshallah, we are happy to talk about RPA, hyper-automation, and its importance to seek the response of COVID-19 impact in operation, negatively impact. Robotic process automation is a technology that has brought the attention of many industry and business nowadays. And there's no doubt that RPA has become an essential part of many business strategies for automation. However, there's still a lot of confusion about the robotics process automation really, what they really is, and what it can be, what can do for organizations. My name is Mohammed Al-Ghannami, and I'm a data science consultant at the mobile business company MBUZZ. And today, inshallah, we will get a good idea about the RPA and the hyper automation from our partners and guest speakers. First, we will hear from George Prob, who is the CEO and the co-founder of Evolvant. And he will talk about RPA and how it's changing the future of work. Then Hilal Baroud, who is the Global Service Director in EMEA from UiPath company, will discuss about the hyper automation. And please, for Q&A, feel free to ask your questions using the chatting window that provided in this platform. We will address them, inshallah, at the end of the webinar. And one more thing here I would like to add. As a gift for the participant, you will be able to register and schedule a 1-hour consultation for free consultation, basically, with our RPA consultant. You will receive a link by email to register for this opportunity as in your free time. Now I will turn the mic over to George from Evolvant to start. George, please.
Thank you, Mohammed. And Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon or good morning, depending where you are. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join, and thank you to MBUZZ in particular for inviting me to speak on this topic today. Just a little bit about Evolvant. When we were first founded, we've always set out with the vision of enabling a better future faster for our customers. And by a great deal of misfortune, as we all know, this message is probably more relevant today than ever. What I want to sort of emphasize and talk about today is how our environment has changed as a result of the events over the past few months, and the rather urgent requirement for businesses to rethink their structure, their operations, in order to adapt for a new way of working. We have the quote from Charles Darwin on the screen here, which is a bit of a mantra for myself and the team to highlight that it is not the strongest or the most intelligent of species that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. And I want to start by sort of painting a bit of a picture of what a typical organization looked like perhaps 6 months ago. So of course we have entrepreneur. All great ideas start with some entrepreneurial spirit and some investment of time and money. This company, Any Corp Incorporated, of course, has its suppliers and they have their customers. If they're any good, they have a lot of customers. We, of course, have sort of core functions: customer service, finance, IT, HR, and typically Any Corp would have an office, and these employees would work from that office. They would be expected to commute from home every day, and they would conduct their work from that location. Quite often, these businesses will have a data center, so perhaps somewhere in your basement or a floor on your office will be dedicated to your IT infrastructure and networks. And a lot of your applications and core business applications will only be accessible from within that office. Furthermore, you probably have a sales team. They probably spend a lot of time on the road. They would have done a lot of travel by car, by plane. This would have been quite expensive. The cost of doing business is always an important factor in the balance sheet. If you're a particularly sort of cost-savvy company, you may well have sort of outsourced and offshored some of the work that your team do in a bid to sort of free up the team for more value-added tasks, and also reduce the costs of operating your business. Now, what we sort of see as businesses evolve and grow is that in a bid to standardize and assure the quality of the work that we do, we have created business processes. We use business applications to give us insights into the performance of the business, and we have layered on top of this business processes. And this is a lot of what we offshore. It's also an effort to reduce costs. So when the customers here say, "Come on, I've been your long-standing customer since the start of this slide. I need a cheaper product or service." We often look at these business processes and ways that we can make them more efficient and reduce costs so that we can meet the expectations of our customers that are ever changing. So the way that work has evolved over the years, as I say, we have our business applications. These are very valuable. They are rooted in IT, they hold our data, they store our transactions, and they give us insights into how the business runs. Business processes, as I say, sit on top, and they are an effort to standardize and assure the quality in the way that we work. Employees are then used to perform these processes. So we're talking invoice processing, procure to pay, order to cash, HR onboarding, IT onboarding, offboarding, all sorts of repetitive, mundane processes. Another thing that we love to do, particularly when sort of mistakes are made and accountability is required, is layer on approvals. And approvals tend to have many, many layers. And this sort of hierarchical approval on top of our business processes also removes responsibility from employees, adds to the drudgery of a lot of the repetitive work that we do, and significantly adds to delays. When you think about putting an approval into a process, many people think, oh yes, that's just a click of a button. But in actual fact, if you were to take 3 approvers, the reality is that perhaps an email or a notification will sit in somebody's inbox for 2 days waiting for each approval. And before you know it, you have a huge delay in terms of how quickly you can process work. So what's the problem with this? Well, there's a repeating cycle here of detriment to customers, employees, and the business as a whole. So you can see that by standardizing this work and creating these repetitive processes, work becomes dull, and employees are tasked with being quite robotic. This stifles innovation. It means that competitors have a door left open to innovate and create new and quicker ways of doing things that meet customer expectations better. It removes responsibility and reserves complex decisions for management, it's actually counterintuitive. Management are further away from the problem. They're further away from the customer. They have less knowledge and awareness of the situation. Now, they may have experience, which should be lent on by employees, but by removing this sort of, by putting a gap in place between the knowledge and where the decisions are made, this again leads to delays. And the impact of this is on employees mainly. Employees they don't enjoy their work. They're not able to take pride in it. There's no room for creativity. And as a result, productivity drops. Errors are made, mistakes, there are long delays, as I've mentioned. Employees start to leave the company quicker. And with higher attrition, you actually find that you start to look at your business processes and say, okay, well, our attrition is high. We need to take people on and train them on these processes quickly. How do we do this? Well, we standardize the process more. We put more rules and regulations in place. So that's how that starts to exacerbate that situation. We all know happy employees means happy customers. And this ultimately leads to a drop in the quality of customer service. And as a result, we could lose business to competitors. We may damage the brand. Suppliers may even become impatient and may stop offering their services. As I mentioned, the reaction to this, particularly with quite conservative companies, is we then implement more rigorous processes. We need a higher level of control. We need more visibility, and we need more layers of approval. when in fact we think that we're solving the problem, we're making it worse. And so the cycle continues. Now, with these process-driven or these people-driven processes, what we found is that when the pandemic hit, the resilience of our operations was no match for the impact that this had on businesses. And what this sort of meant is that the processes that were human-driven sort of fell apart, and we found that despite this, big businesses are able to be agile. So if you take the work from home concept, what we found is that those employees who could only access systems from work, we had to make quick IT changes in order to be able to enable people to work from home. Now, this was done very quickly. And so the question has to be, if big businesses can be agile and can move quickly, why isn't this the norm that we are aspiring to in the name of providing better customer and supplier service? The other thing that is highlighted is that the future waits for no one. All of the technology that we use today was available before the pandemic. But those who were hardest hit were the people who had not taken advantage of this technology before the crisis occurred. So some interesting statistics that we put out to our team, well, that came back from a survey that we put out to our team on the concept of remote working. We asked people how they felt, how their productivity was affected, how their personal well-being was, and we found that 100% of our respondents said that their productivity had either been unaffected or it had improved. 75% said their personal well-being had been unaffected or improved, and the 25% cited reasons such as perhaps more difficult to separate work and life balance. They were working a bit too much, or their sleeping patterns were maybe affected. These are all things that we can kind of fix with a work from home culture. 83% said that they prefer working from home or have no preference. 92% said that they would only use an office up to 50% of the time if they were given the choice in future. So we're seeing a dramatic shift towards a preference of actually working from the home or even working from anywhere. Everybody within our organization said that they were able to do everything that they needed from home. So we were fortunate enough to be set up with laptops, cloud-based applications. All of our documents were stored in the cloud. For us, it was a very simple transition. Other companies, it was more difficult. And interestingly, only 17% felt that they could achieve more if they were face-to-face with colleagues. So having sort of painted a picture of how businesses operated prior to the pandemic, some of the changes that have been forced on businesses as a result of it, I want to move forward and just propose a vision for how businesses may be structured going forward. So we have our entrepreneur of any corp incorporated. We have the office still. Some businesses may have chosen to get rid of the office or have a smaller office. Of course, we still have suppliers and we have customers. We may have less customers for the time being. By moving apps to the cloud and making IT accessible from within it, from anywhere, what we're able to do is situate our employees working from home. Now, this means that the finance department are able to access everything that they need, and they're able to focus more time with their suppliers. Customer service, sales and marketing can spend more time with their customers, particularly the sales team. If you think about a local example, so much of sales between the cities of Dubai and Abu Dhabi took place on a regular basis, and the sales team lost 3 hours of their day during that travel period. Now we're actually able to sell remotely, and the same sales team is able to be much more productive. But then what about those repetitive, mundane processes? We can actually keep those in-house. We can repatriate them from offshore. We can take the robot out of the human and ensure that we are performing the repetitive processes in an automated way that still sits firmly within the core business. So what is robotic process automation? So it basically sits where humans would have sat above the business processes. We have our business applications, the processes on top, and RPA works by identifying elements on the screen and then using a computer in exactly the same way a human would to perform the same task in a repeated way. This means that, as I've said, your customer service team is more focused on handling complaints or compliments, we hope, from customers. Your finance department is more focused on solving complex financial decisions, strategizing, planning, and everybody has the capability to be more creative and drive the business forward. The benefits of this are numerous. You can save time, robots work more quickly. This can impact customer satisfaction, so they may receive their product or service more quickly, it may be of a better quality, there are reduced errors due to the increased accuracy of the way that the robot works. Employee satisfaction, of course, rises because they're no longer involved in the drudgery of the day-to-day repetitive mundane processes that they have to do. It's also an opportunity to improve our processes, so ensuring that we tick every box from a client compliance perspective, ensuring that the process is as efficient as possible. A bad process automated is still a bad process. So there's an opportunity there to really redesign the operations of the business. On top of this, the robots leave a comprehensive audit trail. Every action is recorded and logged, and the data that comes from this provides us with huge insights into the trends that take place within our businesses. And there are more. Robots are secure, so they behave very much in the same way a user would. They log onto a machine, they access applications, but they only do what they are programmed or trained to do. They don't change roles, leave the company, they don't bear a grudge and perhaps become malicious. And that is a very secure way of having your operations handled. The cost savings as a result of this are also very beneficial. This is about making your balance sheet look leaner than ever and putting your business in a position to accelerate when the pandemic has passed. On top of this, the reliability. The robots are available 24/7, 365. They don't go on Facebook for half an hour in the middle of the day, and they are completely dedicated to performing their work. Compliance, I've mentioned. We design the processes with automation in mind and regulation and compliance to ensure that we're performing the best process possible. We can completely remove paper from the business. We can help companies become truly digital and transform from using paper documents to electronic services. And as I hinted at earlier, the insights and the analytics that come from this robotic process automation are invaluable in terms of informing the direction of the business. We can see exactly what has been performed and when, and we can apply predictive analytics to understand when we're expecting peaks in work, when we're expecting troughs, and we can then anticipate the movements of the business. So what I would say is that there really is no better time. I speak to a lot of customers at the moment who are saying we're focusing on mission critical, we're focusing on keeping the lights on. Priority projects only, such as work from home. Work from home absolutely needs taken care of, but then it's about rethinking your business, redesigning it in a way that makes it lean, agile, and efficient, so that you can be streets ahead of the competition when the pandemic has passed and when the economy starts to turn around. So I hope that sort of framed the discussion quite nicely. I'd like to pass over to Hilal to talk a little bit more about the software that we use in order to achieve these goals, and why UiPath's hyper-automation platform is so well placed to unlock this potential within your business.
Thank you very much, George. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Can you confirm, John, that you can see my screen?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, George. Yes. Okay. Cool. Thank you, guys. So Welcome, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the hyper-automation platform that is proving to be a very important aspect of the coming out of the COVID curve. How to rethink your business for a new future of work. Please don't forget to put in your questions in the chat, and we will address them directly after my part. So, are you keeping up with the new future of work is the question that is being asked currently when considering the new way of working and how your employees are coming back into the offices and how you're streamlining your operations and adapting your procedures. This is a question that is coming up a lot, and there are new challenges, and a couple of them that I want to focus on are the post-COVID remote work, the new compliance and regulations that are needed, and cost pressure. These are the three that I believe are driving a lot of automation in our days now. So there are more other challenges that are listed here, but these are the three that I want to focus on. Anything that can be automated, guys, will be automated. This is a statement that has been said a while ago, and we're seeing this coming to truth. Below you can see some of the use cases. For example, in finance is where most of the automations started, but today this has expanded to much more processes that even we did not think of automating in the first place as a vendor of RPA. We're seeing our partners and customers implement automation and RPA in new areas because RPA has moved and came a long way from doing just repetitive tasks to now being embedded with a lot of AI, having human in the loop, having an attended robot, a front office robot, and a back office robot that can be guided by humans and can have human in the loop, where the robot might need some decision makings or approvals from a human before it can continue the process. We're seeing more and more of those kind of processes being implemented. So this area is growing much more than we have anticipated, and it is becoming the new normal of humans working together with robots in the day-to-day activities. So just a little bit on the history. If you remember the internet first, when the internet was booming, and then a lot of businesses went out of business because they did not adapt. You can see Amazon now becoming one of the most valuated companies worldwide, while other companies that did not adapt to the change became out of business. Uber with the mobile first is another example. There are many other examples in the cloud first era where many customers did not move into the cloud or private cloud, if I can mention. And now we're seeing it happening as well with automation first, where the automation adopters have a huge advantage and competitive advantage against companies that are avoiding automation. Well, now that we're coming out of the COVID-19 curve, there are a lot of things that companies are reinventing the way that they see best for running their businesses, streamlining operations where you have people working from home and part of them working on site in the offices, and you need to streamline that kind of operation between these if I can say, isolated human beings that are not working in one team together in the same office. So all of that rethinking is being part of the new normal, and automation is playing a huge role in that, where having people remotely is not an issue anymore when you have robots working, doing the basic back-end operations, allowing your employees to communicate with each other, not having to go through the mundane and boring tasks that a robot can do in the background. It's eliminating errors and risk. Again, this is a very important part. You have people working from home, and you might not want people to access sensitive data. We had several cases where huge banks have used automation specifically to avoid human accessing sensitive data outside of the office. And what they would do is this human will click a button for an attended robot, and that robot will work in the back end, gather all the information, access all the sensitive data in databases through secured environment in the data of the company, and then present it in a way to the human where the human can continue doing the work. But the access itself is not done by a human, and that is eliminating a lot of risks. Apply governance and increase security. Obviously, you will have full visibility, like George mentioned previously today, that you have immense information of logs that are being recorded by the robot. So you know exactly what is going on and which robot did what, and you can see graphs, and I'm gonna go into that a little bit later in my presentation. But you have full governance of all the processes and all the robots that are running these processes, and you can set the priorities, and you can govern all that operation of your digital workforce, if I can call it that way. Sorry about the typo there, I see security instead of security. But again, because these robots work within your data centers, behind your firewalls, on your own IT governance and security policies, you will be compliant and improve security. Now, what we have done recently as UiPath is we have expanded our RPA platform. We have extended the platform to integrate with complementary technologies into the end-to-end automation platform. What we have done is allowing customers to automate the entire life cycle of a process automation, from discovery on the left side all the way to the measure on the right side. The features and products and acquisitions that we have done has made this possible for us. And I'm going to go into some of that later on. But just to give you an idea, we have products that help employees gather automation ideas with Automation Hub from their employees. So all employees will be able to submit their automation ideas in the Automation Hub. And based on your KPIs, it will set the priorities of which automation should be considered. And then what we have done is we have acquired a process mining company that has been in the process mining business for more than 10 years and have enterprise customers, and we embedded that and included that within our solution. And what process mining does, it will allow you to visualize your processes by mining logs from your systems, such as SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, whatever systems you are working with. The process mining that we have will analyze these processes and identify bottlenecks and issues within your processes, allowing you to identify where to start your automation and where to avoid it, if at all. Another part is task capture, where it allows a human being or an employee agent to record a process execution on his desktop and create a PDD document with all the details and all the screenshots and all the buttons that needs to be clicked and all the annotations and information, and submit that within the Automation Hub for your center of excellence or your IT to take that into consideration. So that is on the discovery part. I focused a bit on that because here is where we have expanded the most. The rest of the end-to-end platform include the build, where we have introduced a couple new studios. For mainly the two new ones are Studio X, where business users have the ability to follow a wizard-based development automation for them to automate on their own desktop. So this is just for individuals to do automations with Excel, with websites, on their machine, not having to go through the whole IT and develop from end to end. We introduced document understanding, which is helping do reading documents, such as similar to OCR. And then the rest, I think you are all familiar with the orchestrator, where you manage all of your robots and all of your processes, and you have your dashboards and your reports and alerts, and you can store your variables in it. We also have a mobile of the orchestrator, so you can run it on your mobile as well. Automation Cloud is new, so you can use UiPath from UiPath Cloud. Run, you have attended, unattended. What we also introduced recently is testing robots to test automations. Engagement, where you will have human in the loop, that is called the action center, for long running processes. For example, a process such as onboarding a new employee. Well, this is a long running processes that has many sub processes and runs over multiple days, maybe weeks. You need to onboard him, create a new email, setting up the relationships with the manager, giving access to systems, and then introduce him to trainings and all those kind of things. So it's a long thing, and Action Center helps doing that. We also are introducing chatbots, and Insights is where you can see all the business-related dashboards and graphs of the running robots. So this is the end-to-end platform that we currently have, and I'll deep dive into some of the elements of this platform in my next slides. The good thing is that you decide how you run the robots, whether you put it in a data center running back-end processes, being kicked off by what we call triggers, such as a new email, a new record, or you can schedule it, a new record in the database. All those kind of things can kick off the robot to do a process, and then once that is done, it can kick off another process, and all those kind of things that you can manage within the orchestrator. Or you can have full supervision on the robot, where you as a human run an attended robot on your machine to do a task for you on your machine. What you can also have is a hybrid, where an attended will do part of the process and then pass on tasks to the unattended robot, and so on. This is the Automation Hub, the platform where your employees are brought into the automation by contributing their ideas. They will fill in the data of that process, whether it is rule-based, how often will it change, and submit it, and then you will have full visibility on all these processes based on KPIs that you set, and selecting these processes for development. And then obviously our partners like Evolvant and MBUZZ can do the development for you. They can do the business analyst for you. They are the experts in this area, where they help you identify those processes and develop them into production. The orchestrator, you can have it in the cloud, public cloud, private cloud, or on-premise. This is where you have a list of all your processes, a list of all your robots, and then you assign robots into which processes it can do. And once that robot gets assigned, it gets all the variables, all the accesses, all the username and passwords that are required for that process to execute it. And once it is done, that same robot can do other processes, and you set up the priorities and the scheduling of this within the orchestrator. Process Mining, this is the company that we acquired that analyzes the logs of your systems and identifies processes and bottlenecks within your organization. This is a very sophisticated enterprise solution that is being used already by many enterprise companies. What we also introduced is Task Mining. That helps you do the full automation, so you have complete visibility. The process mining will only show you what is happening in the back-end systems, but some steps of the processes require the employee to do tasks on his desktop that are outside of Salesforce or outside of Oracle, and to monitor that and include that into the process selection. What we introduced is Task Mining. And task mining is what you can see here, where the human being will click record, execute the process like you can see in front of you, and the system process task mining will take screenshots and all these information that are being done by the human, and select a process for you, or actually create the process for you. And this you can extract into Word, or you can edit it as well and put annotations and hide some sensitive data. We have built it with security, allowing the user full control of what should be included and what needs to be excluded before submitting this automation. And the very good part of it is not only that you can create a Word document with all the information, but you can also create a XML file, which you can import, or the developer can import into UiPath Studio to already have the skeleton of that process in UiPath Studio. And then the developer just needs to fine tune it and complete the development of it. The last thing I want to cover on the platform is our analytics. This allows you to see how many hours have been reduced, what is your total reduction in terms of money value, revenue. You put in the KPIs. Obviously, we don't have any of that data, but you put in the KPIs that robots is executing a process in 1 minute while a human was doing it in 7 minutes. And based on that, you set in the KPIs, and these graphs will be able to pop up with the information for you to know better how things are going and which robots are running, which processes are running most frequently, what are the paths that these processes are taking, because you have a process that takes different paths and sub-processes. So all this kind of information you can see with UiPath Analytics. And what UiPath is actually more than just a product. What we also have is Academy. If you go to academy.uipath.com, you can register for free and have go through the whole training. What you can also do is certification online, get yourself certified. Obviously, you don't need to do that, but that is an option. Our partners on the call today are experts when it comes to being UiPath certified and doing implementation and developing processes, so they can help you through that process as well. What our partners are also helping customers with is setting up their own center of excellence. I think George can cover a bit more on that if you have a question. The idea is that collaboratively with our partners, you have the tools needed for you to set up your own automation team and take things forward. Partner technologies, next slide, I will show you all the technologies that we have embedded or implemented or connected with or integrated within our platform. We have a forum where online forum.uipath.com where you can put in questions or read previously asked questions. The community is very similar there, where you have, I think we have done a test on that if a question is asked within a couple of minutes, it was under 3 minutes, that you will get a response from the community. We have a very big community on the internet that are connected on the platform. Marketplace, where you have all kind of connectors, components, integrations, that you can download and install into the platform. For example, if you're working with Oracle or SAP or ServiceNow and you need to connect to it, to the extent where you just connect the connector for SAP, and the only thing you need to tell the robot is go create a report for me in SAP, and the robot will already know, because of the deep integration that we have with SAP, that the robot needs to open SAP, log in, click on the specific tab, click on specific buttons to create a report, and within the platform itself you can put the properties of that report. So we have deep integration with enterprise products. Global business partners. Obviously, we have two of the best here on the call today, MBUZZ and Evolvant. So please, if you have any questions, I think this is the last slide that I have here, showing you the integrations that UiPath has. I'm sure you are working with many of these technologies already being implemented within your organizations. And the beauty of our platform is that it doesn't replace any of these. It sits on top of it, and it actually connects all these together. So you can see RPA as the hands of your infrastructure, where it connects with these technologies and streamlines the process across these technologies wherever they are involved. Just to cover some use cases, SMBC as a Japanese bank, one of our biggest banks implementation worldwide. They have came up with a report listing all these numbers. So these are not numbers that we came up with. For a Japanese bank to do that is pretty significant. There is a link on their website where they explain much more on what their savings were. They have implemented it in most of their departments. So SMBC is a very good use case for you to go through. When it comes to COVID-19, we have on this slide, which I'm happy to share with you, we have more than 50 use cases, but just to cover some of them, this one is where a company was receiving 10 times increase in sanitizers order. Obviously, you can imagine that. And they have implemented 20 unattended robots to go through the administrative task of these orders, where within SAP, all the data are being inserted, and the robot do the whole end-to-end process until the delivery part, where it goes into delivery of the product. So this was a very sophisticated implementation. I see some people are asking questions, but I'll get to that in a minute. Another use case is a Cleveland clinic in the US, which is doing testing for COVID-19, and what they have is 10 different offices or rooms where these tests are being done, and for every person coming in there needs to be a registration of the name of the person and the data, and has he done a test before or not, and all that, and a printout should be going to the room that he's going into, so that printout can be set on his paperwork. And all that now is done by a robot. We have multiple robots being implemented. These are attended robots where the reception clerk gets your information, scans the document, it's all entered into the systems, and if you are already a customer, it will add a new record into it, or it will create a new customer. So all that administrative task is done by the robots, and then sent to the printers for printing out the, I don't know what you call it, but that data with your information to be put on the paperwork. And it has reduced the work from about 2 to 3 minutes to 14 seconds that the robot is filling in these data entry information into the systems that humans do not need to do anymore. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Let me open the chat to check for where is the chat? Let me. Okay.
Yeah, Hilal, probably I can help you with that. So
yes,
first,
please.
Yeah, the first question was on the language supported. So there is a question: if do we support Arabic or French at this point?
So with UiPath, as I mentioned, we integrate with many OCR technologies out there. One of them is Abby, which does support Arabic to some extent. There is no OCR that fully reads Arabic without errors yet. I think maybe George has worked with some of these technologies, but the UiPath document understanding that we have released does not support Arabic yet, no. But there are other solutions out there that you can work with that do.
Yeah, and we've had quite a bit of success with Abby FlexiCapture. The thing about Abby FlexiCapture is that it's quite intelligent, so it doesn't just look to extract information from a set location on a screen. It can actually interpret the fact that maybe there's the word account followed by a colon and a number after it, and it can understand that that is an account number. UiPath document understanding has a similar approach. The accuracy with Arabic is not as high as Latin typeface, but it is improving.
Absolutely,
yeah,
yes.
month on month.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
and one thing to mention here, it is not handwritten Arabic. So handwritten Arabic is not something that is supported.
Yeah, and even some kind of fonts, not all.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, the next question probably it's for you, George. So that was related to Center of Excellence. How can that help our customers?
Yes, Center of Excellence, one of my favorite topics, actually. So I mean, at Evolvant, we have a bit of a unique selling point in the fact that we don't believe that companies should have to be dependent on a third party to deliver RPA or to continue their digital transformation. Digital transformation is a journey, and what we like to do is enable our customers to be able to become independent in that journey. Otherwise, it becomes too expensive and not worthwhile. People or organizations need to be able to continue to transform and keep up with today's technology at a pace that suits them. So what we offer is services where we can help you sort of structure an internal center of excellence for automation. We can help you identify candidates internally or externally to be recruited into that team. We can then train those people right from sort of being business users to being sort of RPA business analysts, or even from relatively non-technical points or relatively non-technical people to being experienced developers. So we have a full sort of modularized training program. We tend to look at your requirements for a center of excellence and sort of train those people according to those requirements. We also adopt a co-delivery approach, so that for a period of time we will deliver processes alongside your team, because we find that this is the most effective way to transfer knowledge between us as the experts and the trainees.
Interesting. All right. The next question is on SAP Business One. So Hilal, I did see that UiPath has a pretty good ecosystem, and I did see SAP listed there. But the question is specific to SAP Business One. Do we have integration with SAP B1? And if at all we do, is there a process simulation before applying these robots? Is that an option?
Process simulation is not something that we can showcase, but what happens is during the testing and the development part of the process, you will obviously test it and see it and then redefine and change it and improve it during the testing, but that is not like a simulation way of it. In the process mining, we do have a simulation option where that is covered. And to answer the B1 of SAP, we have deep integration with SAP. It's one of our technological partners where we even have a paid connector with them. So we do have deep connection with SAP on all levels, to the level where some of them we have worked so extensively on them along with the SAP team that it is a paid service.
I'd just like to add here as well, I think one of the unique selling points about UiPath is its integratability with applications. There are many different layers on which you can integrate with applications. So the sort of default way of interacting with them for, say, legacy applications is by using the UI in the same way that a user would interact with with it. But it has the advantage of also, yes, it's mimicking a user, but it's a robot, it's a piece of software as well. This means that it can make API calls, it can interact directly with the elements on the screen. And we have sort of, as I say, lots of different layers, which means, I mean, I personally have never come across an application that we've failed to integrate with UiPath.
Yeah, great to know that. So the other question from Vipin is, do we, is there an ideal target customer size that we are looking at? It seems to be more, from the business justification and cost perspective. Are we looking at a, specific customer size here for process automation?
Typically, the main customer base at the moment are enterprise scale clients. These are customers that have, perhaps 1,000+ employees. They're turning over sort of millions in revenue per year. They have significant costs that they can take out of the business as a result of sort of streamlining their processes that have evolved over a number of years. That said, RPA is becoming increasingly accessible to small to medium businesses. One of the things that we're looking to do is, and UiPath have actually done as well, is host a cloud orchestrated set of robots for providing RPA as a service. Now, this is the kind of thing that reduces the overheads involved or creates a pay-as-you-go model that increases the accessibility of the solution. So historically, we've worked with enterprise customers, but times are changing and new things are coming to market that means that robots should be accessible for everybody.
Yes, and if I can add to that, George, you need to look at it from a process to process cases. So if you have a process where you have just one person working or two person working on it, it might not justify the need of automation. You need a process where multiple high volume transactions are happening for it to be justified and to automate. So I think the perspective of looking at it on a process-to-process basis would apply even if you have an enterprise company where you don't have high volumes and it is not repetitive enough, then it doesn't make sense to automate it.
That makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. It is all about return on investment, and I think just we haven't been asked the question, but it may be useful to know for these processes, when we do the business analysis, what we're looking at is things exactly as Hilal mentioned. We're looking at the volume of transactions, the average handling time to complete the process, and also other value adds such as how secure do we need the process to be? Are there compliance checks that we need to do? In terms of ensuring that we're not implementing technology for the sake of implementing something new, we are tackling the why first. We're understanding how this is going to help the organization achieve its goals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The sort of typical process size, so we can look at simple processes that tend to take sort of 3 to 5 weeks from capture through to implementation. We can look at sort of medium processes that perhaps have a few more decisions. Maybe there's some OCR involved. These tend to take 5 to 7 or maybe 8 weeks. And then we have large complex processes that perhaps have very complex business logic, multiple data inputs from different sources. They use a lot of different applications. And these extra large processes can take 8 weeks plus to implement. But in the grand scheme of things, that's quicker than building a new product or custom application, which is the appeal of it. And if you identify the right processes with good value behind them, you can be looking at return on investment within as little as 3 to 6 months.
I would like to emphasize here to customers and companies that have joined us today that it is essential, very important to choose the right process so that you see the returns and the needed. And to do that, I cannot emphasize more to involve Evolvant and MBUZZ to do this selection for you, or at least consult you and help you in the selection. Selecting the process is very important. This is also why we have focused a lot on the discovery part, where we have implemented process mining and the automation hub, specifically to identify the correct process to be implemented. Like you mentioned, George, automating a bad process is automating a bad process, right? It doesn't improve anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes perfect sense. Yep. I guess the last question was around the use cases, if at all, that can be shared to our attendees. Quite interesting use cases on the COVID.
Absolutely. So I have over 50 of these. I'm just scrolling quickly through them. But yes, these are all shareable, and these are all new cases of COVID-19 where RPA has been implemented. It's more than 50, most of them in healthcare, some in financial services and public sector. So yeah, I'm happy to share those. Absolutely, yes.
All right, thank you.
Just to say that, I mean, use cases are an excellent way to sort of get the brain thinking about how to apply automation within your business. But every business is different. And this is why we sort of put so much emphasis, as Hilal was saying, on the identification and the analysis of opportunities. So I would really encourage you to take advantage of the free 1-hour consultation. Let's sit down and have a chat about the pain points within your business and their processes, and also the vision and direction that you're looking to move your company. As this is, it's really best applied when we have that understanding and are able to tailor a solution to it.
Perfect. Yeah, we are at the end of this hour. So, Dr. Al-Ghanami, do you want to put your closing words here?
No, everything is addressed here, and I would like to encourage the participant to take an advantage, as George mentioned, of the free consultation.
Perfect. So everyone on the call, this recording, this session has been recorded, and we'll be sending out this survey along with the recording links to you. Thank you for the presenters and those who attended. We will be touching, our team will be touching base with you shortly. Again, thank you for participating.
Hello?
Yep, you had a question there?
Yeah. Yes. If we want to have a private session with my team, bringing in my IT team and my, this is Faisal Samanoudi talking from Abdul Latif Jamil. So is this possible?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so shortly after the webinar is finished, you should receive an email with a link in there. And by clicking that link, you'll be able to schedule a one-to-one session with us. I would recommend, yes, IT team is good to have on the call, but also someone from the business as well. As I mentioned, it's business-led and IT-enabled. So the best way to start out these programs of change is with both teams involved.
The other question, do you look into customer experience, or your main focus is on the backbone of the business?
Customer experience as well. Yeah, there are use cases, back office and front office. So there are cases with attended robots that can handle customer requests directly, understand what the customer is looking for, and then issue responses or go off and perform a process according to that request. We can look at the entire business, front and back office. The goal here is that we use automation to achieve your company's goals, wherever they may sit.
It's okay if I ask more, or time is done?
No, please
go ahead.
Okay. And like I initiated a paperless, I have 5 companies, and I initiated a paperless after COVID initiative, or kicked off a paperless initiative. But so the IT team is working on it, but paperless is a big word, it has a lot into it. So how do you define paperless, and how can you help us deliver it?
So paperless to us, there are 2 different levels to this. So there is fixing the immediate issue, which is automating the processing of your paper. So using technologies such as UiPath document understanding, ABI Flexi Capture, to read the contents of paper documents and scanned images, and then input those electronically into systems. This is one way to become paperless internally. But when you actually look at the issue, that's not really making you paperless. It's not providing a paperless experience to your customers. So what we need to look at doing is actually extending the digital service right out to the customer's point of contact. If you truly want to go paperless, it means sort of transforming your business in a way that suits suppliers as well as customers, as well as your internal processes, and removing paper from those. Robots are just part of the solution that we can do there. There are digital apps, web forms, various technologies that we can extend out to stakeholders of a business to ensure that we go fully digital and rid ourselves of paper and the cost associated.
I think we need a more in-depth discussion with the team, getting the business and the IT guys, and hopefully we'll have a much more fruitful discussion. Thank you for the presentation overall.
No, absolutely. I'd yeah, love to sit down with the team and discuss how we can help.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, great
Thank
questions there. Yeah, thank you for that. Any other questions from anyone here?
We'll send them the link by email, and we will set up the 1 hour consultation. Let's end the session now.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all for joining, and have a great day. This concludes. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh.